6:05. In attendance here, let me just put my notes on the couch. Let's see. I am here. Paul,
Yes.
Emma. Chelsea is not here. And Gary is not here. Okay, but we do have a quorum, so we can continue. Could I get, and when you come up to speak, can I just get you to sign in, but just for my notes, so I don't follow up anybody's name? I'm not the greatest speller. Okay. Mayor Hendricks, would you like to go first? Okay. Gonna do the proposed account review. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. So this should be,
Count 1090.
yep,
City of Groton
10901 for the highway maintenance.
Highway. Maintenance. So,
And the
Give us
number,
the page number.
okay, go to 180,
180,
181. And then appendix alpha has, excuse me, all the backup information in my letter that I sent to John Burt. Now, do you want me to go through the full spiel, or do you want me to get the brass tacks about what?
I
they
think
can
we
and
can get
can't
the
do?
brass tacks.
All right. So for those of you that have not seen the City of Groton highway budget before, once it goes to town council and town council sends forth a number to the RTM, it's done. There's no, the RTM's got to vote on it, and they have to vote yes on it, even though they don't like to vote yes on it because of what the special act says. And let me read that. This is an act concerning an amendment to the charter of the Borough of Groton. Section 40 of number 362 of the Special Acts of 1933 is amended to read as follows. A committee of 3 burgesses shall be appointed annually to confer with the town council of the town of Groton to determine the amount of money which shall be necessary and proper for the making or repairing of the streets and highways of said town within the limits of the borough during the current fiscal year of the borough. In the event of a disagreement, the amount shall be determined by a committee of 3 composed as follows: 1 appointed by the highway commissioner or his deputy, 1 appointed by the Groton Town Council, and 1 appointed by the warden and burgesses of the borough of Groton. The sum determined shall be paid by the town to the treasury of the borough, and the town shall not be liable to make any repair or to make or repair any street or highway within the limits of the borough. So and in my charter, there's a 3-on-3, so it's 3 town councilors, 3 city councilors. And we basically, it's their way of getting some information and familiar with the budget, and then it goes to the town council, and then the town council goes in. The amount that we proposed was $2,961,628.
But I'm sorry, would it be possible to get a copy of that? Thank you. And just a clarification on this, I heard you read it now, but basically it says we can't vote on this. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. That's the way it's been interpreted legally.
Okay,
I do
so,
not have the legal opinion, but there's a town legal opinion and a city legal opinion that says that the RTM, because the town's got to do this. It's not the RTM. So the
okay,
RTM couldn't restore it, which I understand, but you also can't cut it.
okay.
So
What are we doing here?
that, well, and that beckons the question, why do we come before the
Yeah,
committee?
yeah,
But it's part of the process. The
Okay.
process is all accounts come before the subcommittees, and then it goes to the committee of the whole.
okay,
I'm not gonna say we've always done it that way, but that is the
That's-
process.
okay, okay.
And when I was on the RTM 20 years ago,
hmm
well, maybe not 20, long damn time ago.
12, I remember being on.
Well, it was, you and I were
Yeah.
on the RTM together, so that's the way it was
Okay,
then.
okay.
So it's not, this is not my interpretation.
Right, right. No, I understand that. I just, I'm new at this, so it's a
No,
little
no, I
bit
understand. That's
confusing.
why I said for those of you that have not been through this before.
Okay,
Uh,
so
So-
we're gonna listen to this and then.
Well, I'm
just say
gonna
good.
be brief and
Okay.
out of respect to colleagues in the
Yeah.
back and out of respect to you guys,
Hmm,
right? So the number that we put forth was 2,961,628. The number that the town council passed was $25,000 less than that. Did you
I
guys get,
think, yeah. it
did a
came
number,
out.
was a number sent to you?
I've got 9236628,
There were some sent out to them.
29, 2,936,628.
There we go.
Is that 25 less?
That's, looks like it's 25 left.
Okay, because that's what it was. It's 25,000 less.
Yeah,
So they cut both police and highway budget by 25
okay,
In total, together, combined.
each.
Oh, each
So they cut 25 from police and then
25.
and then I left and I thought we were good. And then I'm going over the bridge and my wife says, "They're cutting your other budget." So I texted John. I said, "They cut my budget." So they reconsidered. They didn't, so we got reconsidered. And that's the process. Don't have an issue with that.
Okay.
But that's the number that is before you
Okay,
tonight, and that's the number that you'll vote, in my opinion. I'm not running the meeting, not my meeting.
what is the number again? Because I don't, it wasn't sent. to me.
well, I watched your meeting
Yes, sir.
and the numbers that I got out of that meeting, it might not be the right one if they did something
They
afterwards.
did not. They only reconsidered one time, and that was a cut of $25,000.
And it has the highway maintenance budget
That is correct, yes, sir.
was 2,961,628.
That's
And
correct.
after the cut, they came up with a number of 2,936,628.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
So that's
Give me the number.
25,000 less.
Two
So,
nine three six.
Okay.
so that's the number that you'll be voting on tonight, which is the number coming from the council.
I want to make sure I get it right.
So as long as that's, I mean, I left my phone at home, so
Yeah, no,
I
did.
can't do the math, but if that's a $25,000 cut, that's what they did. Is that correct? Thank you, Greg.
Okay, so, we're going to take a vote on the count, 1090, cost center is 1090.
So you're saying we couldn't restore it? We couldn't restore the 25,000?
No,
That is correct.
well, we've got to go with this. $2,936,628. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Abstentions? No. Okay, passes 3-0.
Now, will you guys also review street lighting?
Yes, we're doing street
Okay.
lighting also.
All right.
Again, I have no other information on that.
Well, in the street lighting, they passed that because basically that's a pass through.
That's
That's
what
the
I,
town's number.
that's what I thought usually is. Okay, so the next item is account 10904 roads and lights on page 181. And the amount is $115,164. And all those in favor? Say aye.
aye,
Opposed? Extensions? Passes 3-0. Thank you, man.
Thank you for your time. I apologize for the inconvenience, but you could ask the question at the RTM, but I think they will be consistent with my response.
Yeah.
Because that's consistent with what.
We're about to say the same thing.
Okay.
See, I set the bar low so that they don't have to.
Okay, is
Thank
any,
you.
thank you. We're on to account number 1091 Groton Long Point. Can I get you to sign in so I don't follow your notes for the notes? 0, 1. This is for, on page 183. 184. Oh, here we go. So this is for account number 10911, Long Point Highway Maintenance.
Why did you?
Oh, you did.
And I don't, pardon me, now, let's see if it's on this list. I should have printed this out. 09. Long Point.
Page 183?
Yes, 183. So the request was for $834,533, and the council's number is $759,530.
That includes the police.
That includes the police.
That includes the police.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. Then break it down for me. Would you like to speak? Would you like to
Yeah,
speak?
so my name is Glenn Mistry. I'm the Public Works Director at Groton.
Okay.
So thanks for having us. The GOP highway as proposed was $416,000. It included two major elements. One being $266,000 of our typical operating expenses, and another $150,000 for a comprehensive stormwater study, which stemmed out of our resilience plan that we did in 2023. That was identified as one of the primary issues. We have a lot of flooding down in our stormwater system. That went through the town manager and was approved by the town council on 3/27, similar to the city of Groton on 4/4. The town council reconsidered and struck 75,000 largely out of the stormwater activity with the intent of having that project run over a 2-year period versus a 1-year period. So the number we're requesting we submitted 416, the town council reconsidered that to 341,000.
So that's the number that was approved by the town council.
What percentage is that?
Uh,
You had 59%, and that, so that must,
it was a $75,000 cut.
Cut, right?
yeah,
Didn't do the percentage of the
increase.
cut.
I was wondering what the percentage of the increase in the budget is now. We're looking at 59.7% increase in the budget.
It's a little bit apples to oranges because in prior years when we had CIP requests, it went in separately in a different process. And this year, town manager Burt asked us to put it in as part of the operating. So we've never done it this way before. It would have been in a separate bucket.
The typical operating expenses was about a 2% increase, 5.5K.
Okay,
And then we had the one-off
CIP.
CIP stormwater at 150K to start and was reconsidered to 75K.
have you started that study?
We have a
No.
detailed quote from a supplier, our contractor to do that. We have not started that study.
And it would go out to bid before if we go ahead with it, it goes out to competitive bid. Best number. We're also working with the town and the town resiliency manager because they're also doing stormwater
Exactly.
in Pearl Street and Water Street, and we have similar issues. I'm trying to use synergies and save money for everybody because
We all have the
That
same
would-
problem. Greg and I have
yeah.
talked
Yeah.
about this in the past as well,
um,
as well as Megan Granado. So
But-
we all have the same issue.
we also have we have a charter that has a similar language as the city. So the number goes to the town council, it comes out of the town council. And the RTM is I mean, I can read you the language, but it's this, we're in the same bucket.
But
But-
the hope is to have the additional 75,000 next year.
That's the
So,
hope.
Yeah, and we're also looking for grants, so
We wouldn't start this project to improve, so it's fiscal year 25, so we'd start in July and move on. But, GZA is the organization we use for our resilience plan. So we went back to them for a firm quote on the project, which they've given us. We would go to others to get competitive bids on it as we move forward, but
and also look into whether we join forces with the town and go in together, whether there's savings to be found
Yeah,
there.
if there's opportunity.
We're all dealing with the same issues.
Yes, I'm glad we're dealing with it now instead of later, because having spent some time in Miami the past year, let's deal with it.
It's a,
Yeah.
But you're going forward with this now in the town. I mean, the town, Greg, the town is doing a lot in this area
Yes.
too, right? I'm just,
Yeah, the town requested $350,000 for a similar.
is anybody coordinating that or?
We are.
Who is,
Glenn is coordinating.
Greg and I have met in the past to discuss the same issue. I mean,
Is-
we have the same stormwater issues in Round Rock Point as you did down in Mystic. I mean, it's just, they're overwhelmed by the amount of water that comes in.
yes,
So we don't have a plan yet as to how we're gonna attack that. The hope is that we could, and City Ground has the same issue.
Yeah,
So-
and they're also doing, so there's 3 requests out for funding for a stormwater study. No one's done anything yet, but they're in conversations. We've talked to Megan Granado, who's the resiliency coordinator for the town, trying to figure out ways if we can all work together, if that's bigger buying power, if that gives you administrative savings. If they're looking at the same issues, how do we, let's not all do the same thing if we're looking at the same issues, if we can figure that out, but it's all in very nascent stages now, because we don't have the money to do it.
So why did the council get rid of the 75?
We weren't there for that, so I can't
Oh,
tell you.
okay.
As with Mayor Hendricks, that happened the week after we were there,
I
so.
think the thought process was is we could do that study over a 2-year period versus a full up in a 1-year period.
So no,
Okay.
so we weren't.
does that mean you're gonna do a half study this year and half a
We don't-
study next year?
I have to plan that out. I mean, there's 180 storm drains in Ground Rock Point.
Yeah,
I never thought I would know that number, by the way. So I'm not very happy that I do. And
Interesting
so we
map
can,
of
we
it,
can
too.
prioritize areas of where we know we have most flooding, and maybe we could, carve out a priority project for 24 or 25 and then a backup project.
And they flood in, they drain into and drain out of different areas. So there's a whole mess of them that go into the inner lagoon, a lot of them actually, and that brings a lot of water in. So you can maybe do that piece of it
Yeah.
and then do the ones that come from the sound side. There might be ways to break that up or just
to get
stretch out the
started,
time.
Just to get started,
Yeah.
we start learning, what we're gonna find in the high risk areas, when we have high tides, our the stormwater system is just not capable. I mean, just don't wait for it to drain. So,
The stormwater on the corner where my house is at the end of one of the lines. I can attest to that because I watched the water come up and not even like hurricane storms and just regular storms. It just floods up and it's gotten markedly worse over the past couple of
Must be a little
years.
scary to watch.
so are the roads not passable?
They
They
get-
can be at times.
they get.
Well, on a hurricane, of course,
Yeah,
but I mean,
hurricane,
is it
but,
on a
um,
regular high
You
tide?
can s-
The
it's obviously-
January storm,
moderate, when you have moderate flooding, we have a lot of areas that are not passable. I mean, maybe you have an SUV that's really high off the ground. If you go slow, you could go. But you have a foot of water in the ground, I don't want.
Does it hinder mail delivery or garbage pickup?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because the last time we had this event, the post office had to park down the street, took his shoes off and walked in a foot of water to deliver the mail to the post office.
we don't have house to house delivery.
Right.
It's
Okay.
a central post office, but that street was flooded.
Right.
That was flooded in the past 3 storms each.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
It's something we're trying to address.
No, I'm certainly fully supportive of it, but the concern I have is that I'm hearing 3 different areas going to be working on the same project. And and I know you're talking with Megan about
Mhm.
coordinating it. But I'd feel a lot more comfortable if we had a commitment, to coordinate all the work that's going on in town. So that one area doesn't get fixed and one area doesn't get fixed, kind of thing.
Yeah, you wanna do a lot of lessons, so we have no objection to it at all. We don't claim to be the expert at this, we have to look external,
Yeah,
for somebody to come look at it.
yeah,
If we can find a common source to do it for all 3, that would be great. If they were able to handle that level of work.
yeah.
But
But you're gonna be sitting down with contractors who are going to be presenting budget or
Yeah.
proposals to you.
Yeah.
And they won't, not necessarily for other areas in the town, is that right?
Yes, right now that is true, yes.
but the intent is, I mean. We got a bid. Only to give us a budget, basically. You know, how much is this gonna cost? It hopefully will cost less, but it just in order to have an informed number. To budget for. And then, now that we know what our budget is, which is less than what we thought it would be, we would go out for a bid, but. Glenn, I know, has talked to Greg, we've talked to Megan, we've talked to Mayor Hendricks. Trying to work out a way, it's just too soon in the process. To say whether companies would be interested in taking that on, whether. What the savings could be. But it is certainly something that everyone that I've talked to is looking at, because we're all dealing with the same issue.
Yeah, from a Groton Lumber perspective, we have no issue with that collaboration. We'd be happy to collaborate on that project.
Are there many companies out there that do this kind of study?
They're environmental consultants.
More than you would think.
I guess I'm thinking everyone's gonna need one
Mhm.
that lives along the shoreline.
I can't imagine a situation where you can't find a company that would be willing to do all that.
Oh, no, I'm sure you'll find.
You'll find
You'll
some,
find some that want to.
yeah,
It's a big project,
yeah, it's a huge project.
right,
Um,
with similar issues. I mean,
Mhm.
so.
yeah,
Alrighty, well,
and on this, budget. Is this one of those things we don't have any say-so in as well?
Yes.
right,
Last year was my first time through this process. I thought that was amusing as well.
Yeah.
nice. It is amazing. Okay, so I have the number altogether as
If-
one,
If,
but we probably.
just on that,
vote on it individually.
on the point of order there. If we don't vote on this, what happens?
Well, Gary Wells is coming in now.
Okay. Okay. What happens if we don't?
Yeah, if we
vote
don't
on
vote on it, I mean, it just goes through, right?
Yeah, because we have our charter,
Yeah,
which is similar to. What the city of Groton says the same thing, duty of the selectmen of the town of Groton and an
Yeah.
equal number of the directors of
yeah,
services.
I
It's
heard, yeah,
I don't know that anyone's ever tried to. See what happens, but I think it goes through because it's some of the town council.
I think it's making sure all our i's are dotted and t's are crossed.
yeah, I mean, I understand that, but we've kind of been put into this position to oversee, and we're not overseeing anything.
We're not there. There are times that we're not. We have a very different setup with our government where we have a town council and an RTM. I think we're the only ones in the state that do.
Mm.
And usually it may be a board of finance and a town council or an RTM and maybe a different setup. And not all our rules are made by us, so
Mhm.
by the state. I
Okay,
believe this is from the state. So, that being said, we need to vote. Hi, Gary.
Had to, I'm looking after my mother. She just got,
Okay, are you able to vote?
call of nature at the last moment there.
Oh, okay. Well, we're voting on, we're on page 184. We're voting on Groton Long Point Cost Centers 10911 and 10910, which is the police and highway maintenance. They lumped
You're not
in
doing police.
No,
just
just the highway maintenance,
highway.
just the highway maintenance.
which
So
is 341.
341, okay. Okay, so we're gonna do the highway maintenance, 10911 highway maintenance of $341,000. All those in agreement say aye. Aye. Opposed, opposed, abstaining. Okay, that passes 4-1. Street lighting, I believe. is
Yep,
what's
which is
on.
the same as the city, it's a
Correct,
pass-through. from the town.
184, it's 15, cost center 10912, street lighting is $15,033. Okay, so all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, staying, that passes 4-0. And I think we're done. Thank you.
For your time.
Thank you, and hopefully we'll stop flooding.
That would be, figure out how to do that, we'll come back to what you
I don't know.
See you, Bill.
See you, Glenn. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Public Works. Go on over. Account 1035, page 107. And would you like to give a little? brief?
Sure. Just for the record, just to introduce ourselves here, Greg Hanover, Director of Public Works. We have Stacy Leach, she's my administrative supervisor who really puts the budget, the details of the budget together, and then Bob Charette, who's my facilities and fleet manager. This is the 1035 budget. This is our general public works budget. The overall increase for this year, actually, it's a little less than that, is about $460,000. There's no new programs or changes proposed. The transfer station fees are proposed to remain the same as they are now. We'll start with personnel. There's an overall increase of about 65,000 in personnel, which is 2%. This is mainly, we have $100,000 increase due to contractual salaries, and then we do have a savings of about $40,000 in overtime because of the way we calculate the overtime for snow and ice. We've had fewer callouts over the years, so that number's going down. So that's reflected in the budget. So the overall increase is only about 65,000. Operations, the overall increase is around 375,000. That's about a 14% increase. And the reason for those is there's a number of reasons. We'll start with utilities. Utilities is up about $100,000. This is, we have increase, just so everybody knows that, Public Works funds all of the utilities for all town buildings, except for Board of Ed, school buildings we don't do, but all the water, natural gas, heating oil, electricity for all town buildings, it comes out of our budget. So the library, town hall annex, everything. So that's where the money comes from. So there's about a $55,000 increase anticipated with the price of, gas, electricity, water all going up. We are also responsible for the vacated schools we have. We have three of them? We got SB Butler, Claude and Groton Heights. We still, at the direction of the town council, are keeping minimum heat on at SB Butler. The other schools have been turned into cold storage, but we do have an increase in the electricity because we have alarms at all the schools for fire and burglar alarms. So there's electrical costs, and then there's heating oil at Butler. We also pay for the electric for streetlights and traffic signals that are in town that the town owns. So that's about a $12,000 increase. So utilities is a big number. The next is a line item. It's classified as occupational health and safety. That's up about $30,000. There's a few reasons for that increase. The one is the Mystic Restroom Building, which is in downtown Mystic. We own and maintain that. Recently, well, actually, for the last couple of years, we've been getting a lot of vandalism in there after hours. With all the restaurants down there, people, young kids, whatever, they do what they do, and they go in and they, bust all the urinals and the toilets and the sinks up. So we're looking at installing a locking system so that it'll automatically lock, say at midnight. We can adjust the time, but from midnight to 6 a.m. it will be locked, so that we're trying to, hopefully cut down on the vandalism because it's expensive to replace all that stuff. The second is the Jebez Smith House. This is the historic house that the town owns on Route 117. We are responsible for the maintenance there. And you'll see later, we do have a CIP project for that. But one of the things we do want to do is install an intrusion alarm in that building. It's an unoccupied building. There used to be a caretaker there, but there hasn't been one for a number of years. So we want to put a burglar alarm system there. So that costs some money. And then just there's an overall increase in fire alarm inspections, quarterly sprinkler inspections we all have to do, the life safety, whether it's OSHA, lifting cranes, elevator inspections, all that stuff has just gone up. The next line item is the professional and technical services. This one's up quite a bit. This is up about $200,000. And go through the reasons for that. The first is I've put in the budget about $75,000 for engineering consultants to support staff. My engineering division, we have 3 positions, a town engineer and 2 staff engineers. Right now, I have just 1 staff engineer. With the demand for engineers by EB, DOT, and everybody else and what we're paying, I can't even get people to apply for engineering. And we rely on engineers for all, people call up with problems. We go out there, we problem solve, we, design small projects, sidewalk projects and things. And I don't have anybody to do that. So I've put in some funds so we can hire, local consulting firms to assist us with these projects just to keep things moving along. We'll also be going out for new custodial contractors. We pay for and are responsible for the custodial for all town buildings. That contract is up at the end of June, so we're going out for a new contract. So we anticipate that's going to go up a little bit. So we've accounted for that. We have $42,000 to replace batteries at the police station. Emergency dispatch, they have UPSs, which are uninterruptible power supplies, just like you have maybe for your home computer, but they have a very sophisticated system so that 911 dispatch and the radios don't go down if there's a power outage before the generator kicks on. Those batteries are due for replacement, and that's about a $42,000 price tag. There's quite a bit of them. And then we have our MS4, which is our stormwater permitting. We have consultants that do that work for us. This is all the DEP required permits that we have to adhere to. So there's going to be a slight increase there, about $15,000 for the work we required this year coming up. We've also got some fuel tanks we have to do some 10-year integrity testing on. And so that's another mandate that we have to address.
Are these numbers that you're giving us, do you have bids on these? Are these solid numbers or are these?
These are estimated. We have some good track records of what we've paid in the past.
Mhm.
So we're, kind of, but again, it's just an estimate, and we will, for consultants, we can, if it's a professional, like an engineer, we can hire them on qualifications and then negotiate a fee. But for some of the contractors, like we have tree trimming or things, we'll go out, we'll do state bid. A lot of this, these contractors are under state bid, where the state has already put this out to bid. We can piggyback on those costs. So that's pretty cost effective for us. There's some other regional purchasing agencies we can piggyback on. Otherwise, we will go out to bid on, like, for instance, the custodial that's out now will be a bid thing. Materials and supplies, our salt prices just keep going up and up. This is the salt for all the roads. So that's anticipated to be up about 10,000.
Can I ask a question about the salt?
Yep.
Did it impact things having to go out of the area to get the salt? Because I know you used to get it in London. Now, did you have to go to New Haven?
We did for a while. Well, we get it delivered. So they'll deliver it from New Haven. Then it was from Providence, and then this last year, maybe it was Providence again. I don't recall, but it's definitely increased the prices. Yeah, I think we were paying somewhere around $68, $70 a ton when it was in London. Now we're over $100 a ton. And then we have some equipment, machinery, and furniture. This is, where we put in some of our equipment that's a little bit more expensive. Like we need a new asphalt curbing machine. That's about a $14,000 item. We're looking to install a new undercarriage vehicle wash system. Speaking of salt, because we're getting a lot of corrosion on our salt. Spreaders in our dump trucks and just regular pickup trucks. So these, was a undercarriage system, people will be able to drive right over it and just spray off all the salt. So hopefully we'll prolong the life of our vehicles. Then we have a couple plows and things of that sort. So that's it. The council did cut $25,000 from the budget. So it was,
So when you read the budget, you said 375 or the operating expenses, that it was up 375,000,
roughly, yes.
but here it's listed as being up roughly 395,000.
Yeah,
Does that have to do with the council?
that council, yeah, they
Okay.
cut 25,000. So that's why I just, in my head was just taking that off.
I see.
Okay. We ready for this?
So do we vote on each cost center separately?
No, you move the whole number.
Oh,
Yeah, we move a whole number,
Are they,
for public works and then for.
But you can ask, any questions you want.
I have a few questions. For the downtown Mystic public restroom, does someone monitor that during the day, or is it just there and you send someone in to clean it and they see that there's.
Our contractual custodian goes in there twice a day, and even on the weekends. You have to do a cleanup, make sure the
And right
toilet
now,
paper rolls are filled and the soap dispensers are filled, that type of
Okay.
thing.
so it's currently open 24/7.
Correct.
I see.
And also during this seasonal time, the police substation is in a portion of that building.
Oh,
But
right.
They're there regularly as well.
Okay.
on the lock for that, $10,000 seems, I put locks on my door for less than that.
So
But-
these aren't locks, these are like the fob system.
Uh-huh.
To get into a regular building.
Okay,
And that way we can control it remotely
yeah.
and judge it that way. We can set the time.
Hmm.
And that's a networked device, so
Yeah.
it gives us remote control of that.
Does that have cameras and things involved with it too?
We
Or
do have a separate surveillance
Yeah.
system in there that again, the police access.
Yeah,
But this system would strictly control access to it.
okay. Is that something that like police might go over and lock the door? Is that a?
No,
Maybe it's just, I'm oversimplifying it, but.
No, it's, yeah, that's not something we want to burden them with. This will just be automatically, you can do it. You won't have to think about it. It'll
Uh-huh.
just be taken care of.
And unlike your house, it would have to have what they call crash bars on the door.
Yeah, so you can't lock somebody in it.
Yeah.
They would be able to get out.
Okay, okay. All right.
You wanna wait and find out how they got in there before you let them out. Okay.
So you said that you have staff shortages with finding an engineer. Do you have an active job posting out, or did you just decide
No,
to forego that?
we've had job postings out. We've been advertising all over the place for over a year now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Engineering isn't as sexy as it used to be, I guess.
It's very in demand, I guess.
That's exactly what it is. I know my husband can't get something.
And then two more questions. You said, so on this, in our budget book, for the increase in work required for MS4 consultant, it says 30K. But I believe you said 15,000. Is that?
Yeah, I see that. Is it 30? I may have been in that 30,000 may have included the some of the you have to do a stormwater pollution prevention plans, which I think was another 15,000. I didn't mention that.
Oh, okay.
So I have a couple of questions myself. And you said something about this, but I didn't look at my highlighted parts when you did the professional development. Has gone up quite a bit. Can you tell me again why? It's 5210.
Oh, it's going up about $6,000.
Okay, well, I guess I'm looking at it from the estimate in 2024 to the request in 2025. Oh, I see it, never mind, my bad, I was reading this on a train.
Oh,
Okay. And there was one other I had. Occupational health. You mentioned that. Can you give me a little more detail, occupational health? And that's 5281.
yeah, that's where we have the restroom locking device.
Okay, that falls into that.
That falls
okay.
under that, the Jebus Smith House, and then, the sprinkler inspections and life safety and all that.
We don't have anyone in the at Jabez house anymore.
No,
Why? Was it not working? Or is it just better to maintain it itself?
I think they're advertising, I don't know if it's very actively advertising, to have a caretaker there.
Open to having someone in there.
Oh, yeah,
Like that candidate.
I think they would be. There is a committee that, oversees that
Okay.
building, so I'm sure they would.
That might work for someone. coming in. Okay, and
What is that building? I'm sorry. I
Oh,
don't want to take up
the
time.
it's a neat little historical building, not far from our public library, across the street. Do you want to give her a little back?
Yeah, it was built like in 1780s, I want to say. And we'll get into, because I have a CIP project coming
Oh,
up too,
okay.
that for, doing some painting and stuff on it, but it's, when the last descendant of Jebus Smith, when she passed away, she donated the land and the house to the town, and that land included where Grasso Gardens is and Groton Ambulance Building, with the intent that it stay as a, I don't want to say museum, but as a historic building, the town is responsible for the maintenance of it in perpetuity.
And you
And we've
previously-
had caretakers in there in the
Okay.
past that lived there rent free as long as they had programs, and they don't have kids come from schools and stuff and have things like that. But that was, maybe 20 years they had somebody there, different on and off again. I mean, but the last probably 5 or 6 years, right, Bob, it's been vacant. Yeah.
Hmm.
Is it used?
Yeah, they'll have programs. I
Yeah.
think that just recently, in the last month, the library used it for a program there.
Readings.
Okay.
And they do, part of the trouble attracting someone is the person has to be available. I don't want to say 24 hours a day, but regularly
Mhm.
to give lessons and classes. They do have to pay a portion of the utilities and the last person we had in there, we did a bunch of modifications for it. We got everything that she wanted. She was literally there for a month or two and was like, this isn't for me. And left.
Hmm.
Could have been the ghosts.
New England, there's a lot of them around. Okay,
On the, Greg, on the Groton Law Point is conducting a study, and they seem to be moving along pretty well. And they talked about coordinating that with the town. Can you just give me some idea of how that
yeah, if we could-
coordination is working?
We
And
can wait. I have CIPs coming up for all that resiliency studies and
Yeah.
flooding studies. We can talk about it then,
okay,
if you don't mind.
sure.
all righty. Anybody have, a different number they'd like to propose, or can we go along with the number that we're doing that out of order? Account number 1035, Public Works. Town council number is 6,970,040.
Oh, what? So the council cut 25,
Yes, yeah,
and what was that for?
they just
Or
cut
just
25.
Out
just
of the total budget?
Yeah,
Oh,
they-
okay.
there was no real. They can only cut the budget. They can't say where you cut it from, so.
Oh, right, that's right. Okay,
He has to work his magic.
I see.
Okay, any more discussion? Anyone on this one? Okay, so, Public Works number 1035, the number is, I'm sorry, it's to remind me to go to an RTM. meeting. Okay, $6,970,432. All those in favor say
Good.
aye.
Alright,
Aye.
Aye, and, any abstentions, any noes? Okay, passes 4-0. Okay, next account is sewer operating fund 2020. And I'll let you give an overview of this one.
Yep.
Sure.
This budget actually has quite a decrease in it of almost 1.7 million, which is 17.3%. This budget funds our entire sewer operations, which is the collection of sewer and then the treatment of it. This budget is completely funded by the sewer user fees. So anybody that's connected to sewer pays a sewer use fee, and they're similar to you pay a utility, and that's what funds this 2020 budget. The Water Pollution Control Authority does intend to keep the sewer use fees the same as they are currently. So, there's no proposal to increase them next year. And let's see, for personnel, we do have a slight decrease. And that's because the town manager elected to cut the OPEB, which is your employee, I don't even remember what it stands for, but and then for operations, we have a decrease of about just over 1.6 million. And most of that is because the capital reserve has a decrease of 1.5 million because the CIP projects for the sewer, which we'll get into a little later, are funded out of this account. So when we don't have the funds to do it, we just, last year we had a lot more fund balance to use. This year we have a lot less. So last year we had a lot of CIP money, and this year we have, I think only about $1 million. So that's why you see this big decrease in the budget. And also we do pay on a percentage basis to our finance department to send out the sewer tax bills or sewer user fee bills. They also, if somebody doesn't pay, they put liens on property, that type of thing. So we pay them a percentage to, do that administrative work for us. And so when the budget goes down, the corresponding fee to the finance department goes down. So we're saving about 100,000 there. We do have some increases in the cost of utilities, hauling the sludge away, and the cost of chemicals is going up. So that's all I have for this.
Do you see much of an increase with the new building going on in town, the new apartments, say up by one ceiling? Will that impact the sewer?
We'll be able to collect more fees. But as far as the processing of the sewage, is not really going to really impact us too much.
Okay.
It's not like it's that much more than we're already doing.
Okay.
I didn't quite understand why there's the budget is much smaller.
Mostly because there's less CIP funds this year. The capital improvement program projects.
Okay.
Last year, I think we had I want to say $2.5 million worth of projects funded for some pump station improvements. And I don't remember offhand what some of the other ones were. This year, we only have about $1 million. So that's,
I thought that we voted on those separately.
you do,
That's right. Okay.
yeah, it's in the CIP separately, but if you look at the funding source in that CIP, it'll say sewer, it says other. That doesn't come out of the general fund capital reserve, it comes out of the sewer
Oh, I
capital
see.
reserve.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries.
Gary, do you have any questions?
Oh, no, everything.
Okay. Anyone else? Paul?
I'm good.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
This looks like it's completely funded, so it's
Yeah,
no impact at all.
it doesn't impact taxes at
Right.
all.
Okay, item number, account number 2020. Sewer operating fund. I'd like to move the number $8,061,788. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed, abstained, and it passes 4-0. Okay. Next is the 2030 solid waste update.
Well, this is our solid waste account. This is essentially what we call a pass-through account. The town is a member of the regional, resource authority, which is SCARA. And we have a contract with SCARA to bring all the waste that's generated in Groton to the waste energy plant in Lisbon. The way the agreement works is SCARA bills the town, even though we're not collecting it, private haulers are. We pay SCARA and then the town bills the private haulers and they pay the town. So it's really it's a pass-through account. There's no impact to taxes or anything like that. There is a slight increase this year because the tipping fee, the unsubsidized portion of the tipping fee to the town is going up from $61.25 a ton to $67.81 a ton.
Like everything else.
Yeah. So I'm sure the haulers will be charging more.
Oh, absolutely. And I have to say, I really think our trash cost here is a bargain. All right. Anyone? Gary, any questions? It looks fine. Okay, account number 2030 solid waste for $1,831,626. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, passes 4-0. Our next is account number 640 Fleet Reserve Fund. Wait a minute.
Okay, this is the account where we pay for the fuel and maintenance for all the town vehicles as well as purchase new vehicles. And the fuel prices we actually locked in for next year are going to be slightly less than what we're paying this year. So that fuel has decreased about $18,000. The maintenance has gone up just a slight bit, which is like $4,000. And then the vehicle replacements, we have put in for, we requested 12 vehicles to be replaced. I can go through the list of that in a minute. But I do want to point out that that's, it's about $1 million worth of vehicles, but the town manager's elected to use the fleet reserve fund to fund all the vehicles. So that's going to be no impact to the taxes. So that million will be paying for all the vehicles. And then we also have, the police have asked for 3 new vehicles. But one of those will be paid for with, they have an account where when they go out to construction sites and do traffic control thing, they charge the contractor who's ever hired them. They pay the officers the hourly fee, but they also have a small fee for the use of the cruiser that collects up in a fund. And then when it gets to a certain point, they can use it to buy a new cruiser. So that's what we're doing here. So for the vehicles for next year, we're looking at 3 police vehicles, as I said. We have a new paving machine for our roads and streets to continue paving. The one we have is approaching 18 years old. It's just getting really tired and in need of major repairs. We have a new pickup truck for our highway department with a plow to replace the one that's getting all rusty and has high mileage. We have a sign shop van, which is a 2006 van. It's got over 160,000 miles. And this, goes out daily for our guys that do the street signs, painting and all that stuff in the whole town. We have 3 staff SUVs. We haven't replaced a staff vehicle, I think, probably the last 5 or 6 years. And we have some of them that are, the rocker panels are rusting and falling on the parking lot in the back. We're replacing a parks maintenance dump truck that's a 1997. And then John Deere payloader, the loader, that's one of the workhorses that we have in our highway department, and that's a 2006. And it's just, it's the end of its useful life, so we're looking to replace that. So all these vehicles total up to, like I said, the 1,033,500. But again, we're using the police account and the fleet reserve balance to pay for all that. So there'll be no impact to taxes on the vehicles. Taxes will only be paying for the fuel and the maintenance costs.
That's on the police vehicle.
What's that?
That's on the police vehicle.
No, the general, like, what is it, the 800 and whatever those two numbers are together.
Okay.
So this doesn't quite add up to me. If you're saying the cost of the vehicles doesn't increase the taxes, then why is there still a 12% increase if the fuel prices have gone down?
That percent was based on the vehicles being funded with the general fund, but during the council
Oh, I see.
process, the town manager, stated and the council agreed and approved using the unreserved fund balance
Okay.
to pay for all the vehicles,
For all of it,
all the vehicles, yeah, so the.
like all 1,033.
Mhm.
So I don't have to propose cutting one of the escapes. That's very cool.
Nope.
Right.
What do the staff use the vehicles for? The staff vehicles?
One of them's for our road and streets supervisor. He's driving all over town. Meeting with residents, inspecting projects that the guys are working on, things. Some of them could be, I think for the building inspector, he's driving around all over town. And one could be for engineering, our engineer that needs a vehicle to go to projects, things of that sort.
Okay.
They're kind of pool vehicles in a way,
Mhm.
a lot of them.
So, any other questions?
Now, I am a little bit confused because we have that number in there, but we're not gonna. It's not gonna go to the, into the budget because they're pulling it out of the reserve fund. And it's sort of the same question you had, but that, I guess you understood it, but I didn't quite get how that
Yeah, if
all
you look
worked.
at on page 124, the financing plan,
Okay,
and Stacy, do you have the
Yeah.
updated one? It's this.
So,
So the interest income is 40,000. That hasn't changed.
mm-hmm,
The payments from other funds,
It's now 935,139.
39. That's because of the police fund of 76,905, and then the fuel and maintenance costs of about 858. And then the fund balance applied is going to be, shows 587. The council changed that to 916,595. So it's the financing plan that's really changed.
okay,
How we're funding this. We're
okay.
still spending the same amount of money. It's just,
So they're using money from this year's budget?
it's money that's been saved up over the years.
Yeah, okay.
so would be no increase in this year's taxes.
So will we
For
see
the vehicles.
see a decrease in that account? Like somewhere, right?
Yeah, we should see a decrease there.
Well, no, I mean, the savings that we're using to pay for the vehicle.
Yes. There
Yeah,
should,
where's,
Yeah, that's page
Yeah.
49. So if you look on page 49, fourth line from the bottom, or fifth line from the bottom is fleet reserve.
Yes,
So if you go to second to the last column, estimated fund balance, FYE 2025,
Mhm.
In the book as it's published now, it says $925,662.
Right,
So they're gonna take 328,765 out of that. So the revised figure that would be in this location will be $596,897.
I see.
Okay, can you give me the number for, they're gonna take out a fleet reserve?
They're gonna take
Three.
an additional 3,000. $328,765.
Okay, so I don't.
So the balance on page 49, the revised balance would be $596,897.
Okay.
So so next year we'll put money into that, back into that fleet reserve to keep building it again, or?
That would really be up to what the finance end of it is. And I don't think we can speak of what they're gonna do next year.
And it depends also on how many vehicles we buy. Because we assess each vehicle a cost,
Uh-huh.
essentially a lease fee.
Right,
And then we total those up and every year we supply that number and that's the number that goes into the fleet fund. And then, so sometimes we buy more vehicles than we put in a year. I want to say the numbers are just shy of 900,000.
Mhm.
So this year we're buying $1 million worth of vehicles, so that fund will go down a little bit. The previous year we bought, I think it was 806,000. So although we collected almost 9, we only spent 8. So that's how that fund.
oh, I see.
Yeah, it takes a while to build it up, but
Yes,
this
yeah.
year the town manager and the council felt it was important to keep the taxes lower,
I see,
but still replace the vehicles that need to be
Right.
replaced.
that makes sense.
What is happening to the vehicles that we're replacing?
Some of them get auctioned off, or traded in, depending on, how much we get for them.
Mhm.
Some of them, even though they have a high mileage, they may just get pushed down in the fleet to, like the staff SUV, maybe it goes to, it replaces a newer one, but the old one goes out.
Yeah,
So we kind of, push things down.
okay. Like that curbing machine, what happens to that?
That would probably be probably wouldn't get much in trade, and so it'd be auctioned off,
Okay.
and if nobody, we can't get rid of it, then it gets scrapped.
Scrapped, okay. It's not something we would continually have maintenance costs on after we get our new one, right?
No,
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 okay.
that machine will be. pretty
That'll
much
be
worn
added, that'll be added. It's okay.
How long do we get out of a police patrol vehicle? Yeah.
How many what?
How many years do we usually get out of the police patrol vehicle? I'm just curious.
Usually about 4 or 5, I'd say, something like that.
That's what we're getting.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe a lot of miles.
Looks like Gary has a question.
Gary, do you have a question?
Yes, this is my perpetual question, but our fire district in Old Mystic, the chief has said they used to offer maintenance to district, fire district vehicles and charge them for it. And then in a wave of let's save money by getting rid of staff, they stopped doing it. And as a result, we're paying a lot more to outside mechanics to do the work, and they never came to them and said, we need to charge you more, because they ended up paying more anyway. So is there any possibility we can start doing, stop doing some work on it for some of the district and charge them at going rates? And you may have to, it isn't a question of hiring a mechanic and then hanging on a shingle. You may have to just develop a backlog, and then if after you've got a backlog of enough work, then you can consider hiring somebody else. But anyway, that's my annual question for you folks and for the town manager, and it goes on like that. Thank you very much.
You want to respond?
So I'll say the biggest issue we have, in addition to the workload, and as you can see, the list of vehicles that we aren't replacing is growing every year. So those are requiring more maintenance to maintain them. But the biggest issue we have really is space in the garage. We are limited by really the number of mechanics that we'd love to have. I have work for 2 more mechanics, but I don't have the space for a single more mechanic. We just don't have the physical room to house a mechanic and give him a proper work area and still be able to maintain our vehicles in addition to the fire trucks. There are several fire trucks that won't even fit into our building. We have some of our vehicles alone that can only come in one door. They can't go out the other door because they're just too big now. So our limitations really are space.
Makes sense. Thank you very much.
Is this something that's gonna have to be addressed down the road with the new buildings?
Yeah, we have, it's in our CIP. We keep pushing it out, but there is to look at start a new highway maintenance facility.
Would you put it here, or would you move it off site or?
Probably
I mean,
would
your
be here.
dreams, you know,
It would be on this site. Our central fueling location is here. So it just, our vehicle storage is here, so it just makes sense.
so we'd already have the land at least, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
So does that mean that we are not doing the maintenance on some of these vehicles because we don't have the?
Just, for a period of time, we did service for outside agencies, fire
Oh.
departments, ambulances.
Okay.
City of Groton Police,
Mhm.
we've done for a while, but we just don't have the capacity. We do now do maintenance for Groton Long Point Police.
Okay.
I mean, they only have 3 cars. They're similar sized police cars, so we can handle that
Mhm.
with our regular police mechanic.
Yep.
But the larger fire trucks and things like that, we just.
we do Board of Ed vehicles.
We do.
Board of Ed.
Board of Ed also, we do. We've always
Mhm.
taken care of them, so we do those.
Okay.
Those vehicles as well.
I have another question, and I probably should have asked it earlier, that the washing station for the undercarriage. Can we rent that out? Can we do other?
So
My husband would
we-
love to have one of those in our
We've
own
looked
house.
for years for a wash station and we've gone and viewed other vehicle places and we got an estimate back. It was in the millions of dollars to build a really big one. But so this system really kind of accomplishes that same thing, but on a much smaller scale. It has touch sensitive pads, so when you drive up, it starts automatically and it washes the whole vehicle system. So our hope, after a storm, we wash all of the plow trucks and pickup trucks and things like that, but things that don't get washed are police cars, parks trucks, Board of Ed. So our hope is once we get the system in place, it can be an end of the shift, you drive the truck through, and used regularly. Obviously, it won't be available for the public, but we're hoping that Board of Ed, Parks Department, the Police Department, treatment plant, all those vehicles that normally wouldn't have the capacity to wash their vehicles after a storm can utilize this system and really help prolong
It
the
will
life
prolong,
of some of these
yeah.
vehicles.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Is this list of vehicles that we have, is this all of the town's vehicles or just?
These are just the vehicles that are
That need to be
overdue for
replaced, I
replacement.
see.
Yeah.
We have a lot, big towns and then. Okay. Alrighty, any other questions? Okay, well, since this has been funded in a circuitous route, they're not going to raise our taxes. So we need to vote on. Fleet Reserve Fund account 6040. $1,033. $1,033,500. Wait a minute, 1.8, I have the wrong number.
You have to do the whole account,
Okay,
18917.
1734.
Yep.
Okay, so. When you. Okay, so for account number 6040, $1,891,734. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstain, passes 4-0. Okay. Next. Oh, we're into CIPs, huh?
Yeah.
all the fun stuff at the beginning. I think for anyone who's never done this before, the CIP fund is quite an eye opener. How much it really takes to run that.
What page are you on?
215.
Hmm.
Start on 215. Well, I guess it starts to the listings, 213. Capital improvement. And the first one would be roads. You're on whenever.
All right, we're doing 1A.
Yes.
All right, this is our annual paving maintenance budget request for all the roads that we're gonna be repaving or repairing. And just to bring everybody up to speed, and anybody who might be watching later, the town went through about 4 or 5 years ago, we hired a firm to go through and inspect all the roads in town and assign a pavement condition index, which is the PCI, see listed there. And that's a scale of 0 to 100, the condition of the road. It's just like a grade school score, 100 being perfect road. And we also have a program that looks at, the PCIs, the amount of traffic the road takes, and then kind of, prioritizes where we should be spending our money. And it also says that to keep our PCI at around a 70, which is kind of like an industry standard overall, we need to spend about 1.3 million a year. Fortunately, the council and the RTM for the past 4 years or so have been, agreeable to fund that amount. Prior to this, we did have a bond where we were, a large amount of money, but we were paying interest obviously on that bond. So the councils decided that they wanted to go this route for CIPs versus paying interest on road paving. So we every year come up with a list of the roads that we're looking to pave. You can see the list that's in here on the page. A lot of those roads are in a neighborhood that's off of Route 1 up, I guess up towards Wayne Road, which is this Greater Jewelers, I think, or so the Village Bakehouse is there. But if you go back, and there's a lot of roads back in there that are in really bad shape. So we're looking to do that. We like to go into a neighborhood and do all the roads. It just, for economy of scale and for mobilization costs, makes sense just to go in and do everything, even though there might be one road that's doesn't really need it, but while we're there, we'll just do it. For collector roads, which are our major roads, we're looking at Colonel Edgard Highway. That has a PCI 26. This would be from Route 184 up to the Ledger Town line. Culver Avenue, which is also up off Route 1 where Applebee's is. That is a PCI 21. That's in really tough shape. At the end of that road, there's a lot of condos and apartment complexes, so we want to do that one. And then Industrial Drive, which is down off Depot Road. That's really not, a heavily used road. I mean, there's Amtrak is down there, but that is going to be part of a future bikeway that we're putting in the next year or so. So we do want to repay that because it does have a PCI of 8, which is pretty much failed. So those are the roads we're proposing, and it's, the 1.3 million. Some of these, most of these roads we do ourselves in-house paving. A couple of these, like Colonel Edgard and maybe Culver Avenue, will have a contractor come in because they're longer, wider roads. They'll come in and mill it and then pave it for us. But the neighborhood roads we like to do ourselves. It does save some money.
Now, do you redo that study every so often, or is it?
We'll probably be doing it in the next year or two.
Mhm.
The program, there's a standard curve that the condition index follows. It's 100, it's kind of flat, and then as it gets older, it falls off real quick.
Yeah.
So the number, it does follow those. So every year if I go in next year and put in like Industrial Drive, it might be a PCI of 4.
Okay.
just because of the age of it or something like that.
So those kind of automatically
They
go-
automatically follow that
follow
curve.
that curve, okay.
But it's a good idea and the consultant recommends, and we would agree that, every 5 years or so, you go back and kind of reset
Where
what you
everything
actually
is.
are, where everything is.
Mhm. And is you, that sounds like that's about due, is that?
Yeah, that's probably be, if not next year's, the year after's, but we'll probably be seeing that.
Okay. And when a utility comes in and tears up a road, does that change the status of that road from?
Yeah, utility cuts are all factored into
Okay,
into that number.
Any chance we can save Industrial Drive to next year?
I mean, if you want to, you can move a different number.
Do you know when that bike path is to be completed or anything?
I believe it's talking to Mark Berry, the Parks and Rec director. They're looking at probably this fall. It's it comes out. They have the GNR trolley trail. It comes out on Industrial, goes down there in the depot, and that way.
Oh, I'm in a good mood. Let's move.
Who uses that road? I just looked it up.
Amtrak maintenance facilities on that road.
Why is it so expensive?
It's just a long road.
I know,
It doesn't look that long, but
it used to be where the Midway facility was.
Yep.
Is that the one? Yeah.
Yep.
Where when you're going to Bluff Point and you turn left on Industrial, where does the town's road stop and the state property begin?
As far as like go to Bluff Point,
Yeah,
I believe the state starts at the bridge,
At
right
the
under the
bridge.
bridge, yeah. So yeah, so there's like potholes under the bridge and stuff. We have to call
yeah.
DOT or at the parks, I don't know, DEP, I think they have to maintain it.
didn't know if we could throw a little asphalt down at the same time.
Yeah, I know that floods a lot too down there.
Yeah, it does. Sure does. Gary, any questions?
Everything's fine.
Okay, I didn't know. I don't want you to fall asleep.
Colonel Legend Highway used to be a state highway.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Didn't realize that.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm having trouble with that. I gotta be honest, I'm having trouble with Industrial Drive. Just because it doesn't really benefit the town residents all that much. And I understand why it's on the list. I don't blame you for putting it on there. I just wish there was another town road to spend the money on. But we are responsible for it.
Yeah,
Amtrak's not,
no,
but they're not gonna move out if we don't pay it, are
I
they?
don't think so.
Okay, maybe we could wait on that one. Maybe we could just wait on that. And and do it next year. That's what I'm thinking. I would like to propose $1,030,000. For the roads and Industrial Drive, Amtrak can just, they'll be okay for another year. 1,030,000. Okay. Is that right if I subtracted correctly? And anyone can propose another number if they want. We don't have to just go with what I'm proposing. But I would like to propose for CIP 1 roads, $1,030,000.
I think you need a second on that.
Yeah, do I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Yeah, second, okay, thank you. Okay. All those in favor of $1,030,000, say aye.
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 Gary? Okay, all those opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed, okay. So that'll, and all those abstaining, okay, that would pass 3-1. Okay. Next is the Water Street truck loading zone. On page 260. I don't even know what this is. honestly.
Yeah, I'll just briefly the council did cut this one to 0.
Oh, okay, that's easy. So do we have to vote on that even though they cut it to 0?
Yeah,
Oh, we do, yeah, so I'm thinking about it, but I'm sure. All right.
you want a brief description of it or?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
In downtown Mystic, as you know, the restaurants are getting more and more popular down there, especially this is by the Mystic Restroom. We have 4 parking spaces there. They kind of head in perpendicular to the road. So when the delivery trucks come in the morning, you know, we try to, or the restaurants try to schedule them to stagger them, but that doesn't always work. So they end up coming in, a bunch of them in the morning. They park on the sidewalk, they park in the street, they block traffic, they block pedestrians who are walking out in the street. So the traffic authority asked us to look at creating a dedicated loading or unloading zone, if you will, for these trucks down in that area. So we looked at taking those 4 spaces and kind of jogging the sidewalk around, paving it, create a parallel large space that the truck could pull into, unload his stuff, and then be on his way. So it wouldn't block the road or the sidewalks. We'd also so we'd be losing those 4 spaces, but we would sign it such that after hours on the weekends at night, you could parallel park 2 cars there. So in a sense, you're only losing 2 spaces during, you know, the peak hours of the evenings and weekends. And that was it was $50,000 to construct that. You know, we'd have to work with the Mystic Art Association because we do lease the land from them for the restroom and those parking spaces. So you have to modify our agreement, but that was the price we came up with. That is a state road, so we asked DOT and they didn't have a problem with us doing this. You know, we didn't need a permit. But the council felt that, you know, they wanted to refer to the Economic Development Commission, I think, to see what the impact of it was going to be.
Okay. So it might come back next year.
It might come back next year, yes.
So are you
So-
able to enforce that the trucks must use that to,
Well, it would be signed loading, unloading only during, you know, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or something like that, so that the
But I
police
mean,
could
they
ticket
could
until.
just- they couldn't just do what they do now if you had a dedicated unloading zone?
I'm sure I mean, they don't like parking in the street any more than, you know, anybody else does. So they
Right,
would
yeah.
use that all the
Well,
time.
I've noticed that's an issue as well. So driving through Mystic and.
Yeah.
You have to navigate.
Kind of,
the-
yeah, weave in and out of the trucks
Yeah.
and guys
It's a good
unloading.
idea.
Is there any chance we could suspend parking on the main street in the morning during like 6 to 8 a.m. or something so that they could come in?
The Main Street, they do have some on like gravel. I don't know if Pearl, I think has a loading area too. So the trucks tend to go on the side streets over there
Oh,
more than they do on Main Street, but Water Street, right in that area, there's like a bunch of new restaurants right in that area.
Yeah.
That, you know, that's where all these little trucks come and just
Mhm.
stop and unload all their stuff for the day.
Sure, I will. Okay. Let's start with CIP roads, F Water Street truck loading zone. Move the number 0. And council number. All those in favor say aye.
Right.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed, abstentions, that passes 4-0. Okay, and before we go on, did any come out of the traffic study about that road, what we could do to improve it all?
As far as
Making more spaces.
the parking study that was done. I think that's, you know, there's all sorts of ideas floating around and there's still discussion, you know, with the council on, as far as putting like meters in or enforcing the 2-hour parking. The police are getting, I think they're getting a new system where they can go around and ticket people a lot more easily. So I think there will be some changes, but we talked about leasing like some of the church lots for the employees of the stores and restaurants, but that didn't really get too far.
Yeah.
So it's still an ongoing process, and everybody knows it's an issue down there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, CIP 2, drainage and watershed protection. Page 217, culvert rehabilitation.
This is the project that we just for River Road. There's 2 culverts on River Road. One's at Binless. The intersection of Binless is a pond, I think, on the west side of River Road there. There's a culvert under the River Road there that's in pretty poor shape. It's also a low spot. So during storms, it does flood there. And then there's also another culvert. It's north of I-95. It's hard to describe, but there's a sharp curve in the road. It's near house. Between houses 883 and 901. That culvert is, I think it's an old stone culvert that's failing. And it's also very low. It's even lower than at Binless. I think at high tides, probably a couple times a month, it just floods over the roads and makes it almost impossible there. So we're looking to get, engineer to look at, a consultant firm to look at both raising the road in those 2 locations, as well as replacing the culverts. So that's what the funds are for.
Is the second road you spoke about, is that where the ducks used to come in?
Yeah,
Feed
the old,
ducks, okay.
yeah, when I was a kid, we used to go feed the ducks there.
That thing.
I try to tell people that and they look at me like, what are you talking
Yeah, no,
about?
you kind of, no,
Yeah, now you don't do that, right?
Say, roll the bread heels and get out.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. That would be a pricey project, I would think, to raise the road and.
Yeah, we have to look at all the, the impacts. There's all sorts of permits required to do that because it changes the flood patterns and of
A
the
lot of the state involvement.
state involvement,
That's another thing. Okay, so we had. That was 200,000.
Mhm.
Any questions?
Nope, no questions.
Okay, so. CIP. Or drainage and watershed protection culvert rehab is 200,000. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, it passes 4-0. We're on to local drainage improvements. Which is for 350,000.
This actually, we have 3 separate areas of town that we're looking at here. We've had some preliminary studies and whatnot done for these 3 areas. So I'll go through each one individually. The first is downtown Mystic, Pearl and Gravel Street. We're looking at 200,000 for that. We had recently had the Mystic Resiliency Study was completed. And there were several, or actually about 16 action items in that study that were identified. And what we're looking to do is start actually doing something to address the issues on these 2 roads for flooding. So we're looking at action items 1 and 3 and 4. And what those are is there's 3 things. One is to install tidal flow valves on the outlets. A lot of the drainage systems, there's a lot of outlets that go right into the river. Some of them are underwater, or at high tide they're underwater. So we actually get water flowing backwards and flooding people's yards sometimes, even when it's not raining. So we're looking at putting some tidal valves. I know you mentioned Miami. I know a lot of these coastal communities are starting to use these things because it's a problem with the sea level rise. And then another thing is the pipes that are in Pearl and Gravel Street themselves. They're been in there for probably 100 years, and a lot of them are undersized. Some of them go through they go right under people's garages. So we're looking to, have a plan done and start working on replacing and improving the systems in the roads there. And then the third item, action item that was identified was to disconnect the watershed area that's west of Pearl Street up on the hill. A lot of that water that's up there, it's a large area, it comes down, the hill, drains down and then flows through the systems that are in Pearl and Gravel Street. They can't handle all that water. So we'd actually have either put some areas where we can detain water up there and let it out slowly, or put in actually almost a separate system. They'll collect it from there and just pipe it directly to the river and bypass the systems in Pearl and Gravel. So those are all the things we need to look at and permit for. So that's what this money is for. So we can actually start, implementing sooner rather than later all the, projects were identified in the resiliency study.
Is this going to be part of the flood abatement or is this separate?
This is separate. The flood, there was a lot of items that were identified for like businesses and homeowners to take care of and stuff. And that, we're not doing that. We're doing the bigger stuff that was identified that the town can take care of.
So do you think, my thought is yes, but I'm not a professional, that if you take care of some of these things, maybe some of the others won't be as impactful, maybe other things won't flood quite as much because you're. Or am I too hopeful in it?
It'll improve things for sure. I can't say it's not gonna, lower the water in somebody's basement or keep, something like that. They still should have, take the flood proofing precautions and, that type of thing.
You don't have to be near the water to have a problem with the flooding.
Yeah.
So this money would just be for planning. But
Yeah, this is for, for the engineering, the planning, the permitting, the design plans. Because then, once we get a solution or plans, then they gotta tell us, okay, it's gonna be X amount of dollars. Then the town has to decide, okay, we're gonna put this as, if it's a huge number, how are we gonna fund it?
right, okay.
So the two that were approved, the funds in 22 and 23, have those studies been done yet? For Willow Point and for Shinnecock Golf Course?
Yeah, those I'll talk about next.
Oh, okay.
Yep. If you don't have any more questions on Mystic, we can go on to.
No, I don't have. Any.
Yeah, all right. So Willow Point's the next area. Yes, we had funds approved to start the study there, which, we just got the report. In fact, I had some comments and I got the revised report just a few days ago. But there we're looking at, there's a number of roads that need to be raised down there because they flood, Paul well knows. They flood at high tide, same issues as Mystic, probably even more so, I think, because they're a lot lower.
Every day.
Yeah, so we've got the money in there to, again, do the actual design plans, the permitting, so that we can address the issue and stop kicking the can down the road. The maps are showing us, based on the modeling in 25 and 50 years from now, it's pretty disheartening if you live down there. And so, it's going to be a larger discussion of, what happens, down the road. But for now, the immediate concern is that the road's being impassable. So we're trying to address that.
Do you, such as you did with the roads, they were assigned a number, how bad they were.
The pavement, yep.
Would you do anything like this once these studies are complete, so you could kind of, this is the worst, so this is the one we address first, so you could, because to address all of these at one time can be very expensive.
Oh, as far as the construction goes? Yeah, I guess, we'll approach that when we get there to see what the price tags are. Yeah, but they're all, all three of these areas are, equally as,
They're all bad.
they're all bad. Yeah, so we had 100,000 to do that for the Willow Point, and then for Shore Avenue, we had a report done, and that was done last year. This is a couple properties where the golf course drains through, and unfortunately, the system that's in Shore Avenue, which is the city system, is vastly undersized, can't take all the water that the golf course, when they redid it, is generating a lot going through these people's yards and flooding them out, flooding the street. So we did have, some preliminary designs showing what needs to be done there. So now we're looking again to get the final plans, contract documents, permits, so we can go out and, get funding and do the actual work.
Would that funding be all on us, or would we be sharing that?
We'll
with the
probably,
city?
we'll be having a discussion with the city.
Okay. Anyone else have questions?
Now, this is where you might be working with.
With Groton Long Point, yes.
Groton Long Point, and maybe you can describe now how we would coordinate those efforts.
When we hire consultants for something like this, we do what they call qualifications based selections, QBS. So we don't, we hire consultants based on their qualifications. We interview firms. We select the best one that we feel will do the job. And it may be that they can do all these, and maybe they can just do one, they're better at one. And then we negotiate a fee on that. Sounds like they're looking more at bidding this stuff out, which we don't do for professional services. But it's not to say we can't work with them. I'll have to give some thought about how we do the administration, because it's their system versus our system,
Yeah.
and how the fees are going to be broken out. I could see it being a little bit cumbersome. It would be like us trying to work with Stonington on, doing you're laughing about North Stonington River Bridge, something like that. I could see being some issues, but I'll talk to some engineers, see if they've run into this before. They've had different districts maybe
Yeah,
combining and seeing if there is some savings and fees and stuff to do, more of an area. Although these are very discrete neighborhood issues, so it may not be a lot of savings here. I'm not sure.
okay.
But so there'll be more discussions, I think, with us in the city and Groton Long Point.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, well, it's more of a concern that
Yeah.
we're doing, how we're,
Yeah, I don't want to be in a silo when they're
yeah,
here.
right.
But these are very localized drainage concerns. We're not doing a study of the whole
Right,
town per
right,
se. Um,
And the solutions may be different for each
Yeah,
one of these.
yeah, there may be
situations.
some consultants that are better suited for one versus the other, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, we will have those discussions. So
Okay.
we're not gonna just, put our blinders on and just say, we're just solving our problems. You guys figure out your own.
Yeah,
Yeah, we work well together. I work well with Groton Long Point in the city. We coordinate a lot of things, that, behind the scenes that people don't know, sharing services and things of that sort.
I think it's just being good neighbors.
Yeah, exactly.
There is no state money or grants or anything you could go for.
We'll be looking for them,
You
that's for
would,
sure,
okay.
yeah.
Oh, so-
Usually it's for construction. Although there's not a lot for like, just hard drainage stuff. It's more like they want to study flood, the resiliency study that got funding. There's a lot of grants for that type of stuff, but hopefully there'll be some coming down for these real infrastructure improvements. And the consultants we hire, we always make sure that they have somebody on staff or somebody that knows where to get the money.
okay.
Yeah, that's important, and
Yeah.
help us write grants and get the funds for these projects.
Alrighty.
Gary has a question, I guess.
Gary,
Uh,
sorry, Gary.
This, they seem like minor roads here and there, like the up there, we used to feed the ducks on River Road and these things. But, when they flood, the traffic gets diverted onto other roads. And you end up with a mess. So it's best to, try to take care of flooding where you can, when you can. Because it ends up being a problem elsewhere when the cars are driving around back and forth and turning around. I've gone down River Road all the way up to that bend and found river ice that floated over the road, and to turn around and head back and go Cow Hill Road. This is, that's all. Thank you.
I can tell you that I can remember 35 years ago when River Road flooded out. The school buses couldn't get down and Fran Scully Power marching down the road to get her kids. It's been going on for a while. It's just gotten worse.
Yeah, happens
Okay.
more frequently.
All right, so how about we say, CIP two, this is, I want to get the right one. The local drainage improvements, $350,000, all those in favor say
I
aye.
actually have a question.
Oh, sure.
I- It's kind of late to bring it up,
No,
but
it's okay.
don't we have to second it?
Or I think we're supposed to, now that you say that, yeah, we should,
Okay,
okay.
I second.
Oh, second, okay, that's good.
I know we've done like half, most of them, but
Okay, no, that's okay. $350,000, all those in favor, say aye.
I,
I opposed, abstentions. That passes 4-0. Three, CIP three, sidewalks, replacement sidewalk construction, page 290.
This is 100,000, which is our request, so we usually put it annually to do replacement of existing sidewalks that have been deteriorated or creating tripping hazards. If we need to put in handicap ramps, like we did on
The ones on Ledgeland, is that what
Ledgeland,
that came out of?
yeah, that came out of there. We had a contractor come in last year, I think, and went all up and down Route 1 grinding edges where there's lifting, because we do get a lot of claims for trips and falls on our sidewalks, because we are responsible for the maintenance of all sidewalks in town, whether they're on state roads or town roads. So all the sidewalks on Route 1, Route 12, we have to maintain those. So we, anything that's deteriorated, driveway aprons, or we need to do handicap ramps, this is what the funds are paying for.
I have a question. I have a husband who works in the old First National Building in Groton in front of.
Yep.
And often he walks out and he'll walk down Drosdick Drive, come around by the spot. And I was curious why we don't have, and I've only paid attention to it since he's gone. We don't have crosswalks crossing over the parking lots of the different stores and the different plazas downtown.
Oh, across the driveways
Yeah.
and stuff.
Is that something normally done or?
It's probably something that was normally not done. Because I'm not really sure I have a good answer why it wasn't done, but it's typically done on major, on the roads. I don't really have a good answer for you on why they don't.
No. Okay.
so do you have specific sidewalks that you plan to work on, or?
We're doing some on Library Street in Mystic. There's a Route 1 going into downtown Mystic from Allen Street is in pretty rough shape. There's some really good lips there. So those are some we'll be addressing. Then I know Judson Avenue, there's some walks over there that are in pretty tough shape.
So are there ways for this public to, request that their sidewalk be fixed? Because my neighbor was just talking to me about this the other day, so.
Yeah, they can call our office. We keep a running list of people that call in. And,
Okay.
So we'll address.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I have to ask, are you asking for 100,000 or 600,000?
100,000.
Okay, that's what I thought. I'm looking at the total estimate. I just wanted to make sure.
No, it's that's the over 6 years. the
Okay,
600.
that's what I thought, but.
Yeah, I couldn't repair that.
like
I couldn't
the
use that
rest
money
of
on in 1 year if I tried.
So it's a lot of cement. Okay. Gary, anything?
Nope.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions? Okay, so,
So I have one more question.
go for it.
I've noticed that you typically say the sidewalk is a bunch of blocks, right? Or I don't know what the terminology is, but you would just fix the ones that need it, right? And they don't necessarily match with the other, like with the older
Yeah,
sidewalk sections. That's just how,
yeah, it's concrete. I mean, it could be different color,
yeah,
aggregate, the sand could be different color.
Right.
The age, changes color as it
Yeah.
ages and stuff, so.
so, but this does not include, aprons, driveway aprons.
It does,
Oh, it
yeah,
does.
we
Okay,
do that
okay.
too, yep.
All right,
We do this in-house. We don't contract this out, do
Some of it we contract out, some of it's, we are starting to do in-house. We did not do much concrete work, but we've got some new employees that are experienced in it and they like doing it, so we've been doing more and more of it in-house, which is good. It saves us quite a bit of money. Yeah, exactly.
So CIP 3A sidewalks, $100,000. I'm gonna propose the second.
Second,
All those in favor of 100,000, say aye.
aye,
aye,
I,
Opposed, abstention, okay, that passes. Or nothing, B, infill sidewalk construction,
That one was zeroed out by the manager.
okay. I think we still have to vote on that though. Okay, B, CIP 3B infill is 0.
I'll second that.
Second, okay, and 0, all those in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Opposed? Aye. Abstentions, okay, that passes 4-0. Okay, public buildings, human service. Building. On page 235.
Okay, this is requested $100,000 for the window replacement. This is in addition to funds that were approved last year. We had the architect design the windows, the plans of stuff were ready to go out to bid with it. But we only had 150,000 estimated at that time for construction. But after they got into the design, they realized there was some more work that needed to be done to replace the windows, and then the price of windows has just gone way up in the last couple of years. So the new estimate for the total project is 250,000. So we already have 150 appropriated, so we're seeking an additional 100,000 to finish the work. To replace all the windows in the Human Services building, which are 1970s vintage and or leak like a sieve. Very energy inefficient.
I have a question. Has there ever been thought to moving human services to the Fitch Middle School building?
There has been some thoughts about that and some studies. I don't think it'll ever happen.
Okay, okay. I know sometimes maybe an elevator would have to be put in or something if it was on the second floor to be able to comply. And
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of issues why they
Okay.
didn't, but it has been looked at, yeah.
I'm sorry, did you say that they had started that work then?
No, we
Oh,
haven't
no.
started the work. We've just got the plans are all done. We're ready to go out to bid with it.
Oh, I see.
But, we can't really go out until July 1st when, if this additional money gets approved
So-
and
So you. Okay, so last year you just kind of saved the money.
yeah, it's still sitting there. Yeah, the CIP funds are good for 5 years once they're approved. They
Oh,
sit there.
but you don't have a bid on this.
No, we will be going out to bid.
How were you able to get to the 250 number?
That's the architect went through and did an estimate based
Okay.
on projects that they've worked on.
Okay.
Came up with a better number than we did.
Mhm.
Just,
he's got
And then-
again.
and then there was some more work that he found during his design,
Oh, sure,
some
'cause the
panels and
building is
stuff
an
that
old
need to be
building.
replaced. Yeah, it's an old building.
We were there when it was this town library.
Mhm. Nice to go there. I remember that.
I do too. Okay, so. Um. Gary, anything?
Everything's fine.
I've got my back to you, I'm afraid I ignore you. Okay, so I guess we'll move the number, CIP 6A, Human Services Building. Move 100,000, on a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions, okay, that passes. 4-0. On this town hall complex. What we got going on there?
This is $75,000 to install a new CCTV system in Town Hall. Currently, we have a very old system that looks at the tax window and the assessor windows. And they do have a temporary camera outside at the ballot box because of all the issues that happened in Bridgeport. But our former IT director and Sean Greeley, who's our video guy, requested that the system really needs to be replaced. It's outdated. It's very difficult to use, not very reliable. So we're looking at putting a newer system in like we have at Thrive 55 in the community center. It'll cover the tax and assessors window as well as the outside ballot box, but also some other areas in town hall, like the judge of probate area. Sometimes there's some conflicts and things that go on there in that area, which we don't have coverage for. So we're looking at putting in a new system for the security of the building. And it's 75,000.
Question.
What's, I guess I don't understand. What's the purpose of a camera at a tax?
There's a lot of cash transactions and a lot of people that aren't very happy.
Okay.
They have a lot
So
of,
it's kind of a security?
it's a security thing, yes, and they have to go back and look at footage. Sometimes the police get called in for incidents and they have to go back and look at footage and stuff, so, yeah.
Okay, okay. And we have a system now that doesn't work well.
Right, so I don't want to say it's a VHS that old, but it's close to it.
I know we had to put in the camera for the ballot box.
Yeah,
Are these required by law for like the ballot box one? Is that a requirement for?
I don't know if it is an Ike.
Okay,
I stemmed out of these ballot stuff. And
yeah.
I had suggested put it in the police vestibule there up at the police station, but it has to be at town hall. It does use a DVR tape system.
Yeah, I don't know
My
what
gosh.
DVR tape is, but
Okay. Any questions? Okay. So this is to CIP 3B, no, 6B, excuse me. 6C. When I order here. Town hall complex for $75,000 for cameras. All those in,
Second.
second that, yes. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstentions. Okay, that's approved. Groton Public Library. On page 237. Oh my.
all right, we have two projects proposed here. One is, we have an underground fuel storage tank, oil storage tank for our boiler. It's approaching its 30-year life, which under DEP regulations means it either gets replaced or we have to do some upgrades to the fuel piping and the containment sump, so we're going that route, and that gets us an extra 10 years of life out of the tank under the regulations. So that cost is estimated to be about 75,000 for the construction. I mean, if we had to put a new tank in, it'd be around 300,000. So, there's also thought of, in the future, maybe doing solar with electric, there's all sorts of different options we could look at in the
This buys you
future.
some time.
So this buys us some time to continue with our existing boiler for 75,000. The second project is a roof replacement. We had the architect, the funds were approved last year. He did the design and cost estimate. The cost estimate to do the roof is 475,000. This is over the 1995 addition area, which is kind of in the back in the studio and some of the quiet reading areas. We do have a lot of roof leaks there now. The library director will say we need more buckets. Bob goes down and gets more buckets, and so it definitely needs to be replaced. That's a $475,000 project, but I will say the council did approve spending 200,000 of the LoCIP money for that. The LoCIP money is funds we get from the state. It's LoCIP stands for local capital improvement, and there's certain eligible projects we can use those funds for. It's an annual allotment that they give us every year. So they're proposing to use 200,000 of the LoCIP funds for the roof. So, the cost to the taxpayers would only really be 275.
So,
So did you act? Oh, sorry.
no, it's okay. So if we're approving 475, we're going to be approving 200,000 of LoCIP and 275 of taxpayer money? Or are we only approving 275?
No, you're approving the full 550. And then you can, approve the 200 for LoCIP funds.
In there just so. It's no record.
So did you ever do the study to remove the underground fuel tank?
Yeah,
Is that's how you got to the conclusion that you could
to do the
do
10-year,
this
yeah,
upgrade? Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Can you abandon that tank in place, or do you have to remove it?
It would have to be removed. Yeah, you have to remove it, then do all sorts of soil testing, make sure there's no leaks over the life of it. So,
And you will have to do that eventually.
yeah, eventually, yes. Yeah, I can't stay there forever.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just kind of a stopgap, just kind of buys us some more
Mhm.
time.
You haven't thought of. And not that I'm proposing it, but the natural gas, I know that was a big deal to run the natural gas around town for a while. They haven't
Yeah,
thought of
that's,
looking-
I mean, the price of gas has gone up so much. I know we have it at like Thrive 55 has gas boilers. I mean, it's still an option we could do at the library. You have to run gas in there and convert it to a
I don't
gas
know if you need a
burner.
backup system. If you're using solar or wind or whatever, do you need a backup system?
Yeah, I mean, you probably still need some kind of usually when you do a solar, it's like you're doing electric heat pumps or something like that. Or there's all sorts of new technologies come out every year. So that's,
So
You
that's
know.
for down. the road.
yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, I'm not sure how to word this. Be honest with you.
So you approved the number of 555 using,
I'm not sure that they
200,000 of
understand that
LoCIP.
LoCIP money is gonna be used. It's in the notes, I guess, when I speak about it, it'll come from there. Okay, Gary, do you have any questions?
Oh, no, all
Okay. Anyone else?
Good.
Okay, so, CIP 6D, Public Library, moved the number $550,000.
Second,
Second. And all those in favor?
I
Aye.
aye.
Opposed, abstentions, passes 4-0. Okay. Next is Public Buildings F Town Hall Annex. On page 238.
This is our 20 bay storage garage, which is for where we store a lot of our vehicles. It's right out and back here. This was built in 1985. The roof is original. So it's getting up there in age. So we want to just hire an architect to start doing the roof, replace, come up with the design plans and contract plans. Also look at there's new code requirements for hurricane resistance, like on the roof coping and stuff, since we don't want to have this thing rip off and have all of our vehicles exposed to the hurricanes and stuff. So we're looking at replacing this roof, and then it's also a potential roof, since it's a flat roof, for maybe solar panels in the near future. So we want to get the roof done before we put any panels up there.
Is it an asphalt roof?
I think it was
That's a long
asphalt
time
with
for it to
stone on it.
It's asphalt with stone ballast. So.
Yeah.
And which is one of the reasons why it's lasted so long,
Yeah,
because the
it's a
sun
long
doesn't beat
time.
down on it,
Okay. Okay. Okay, so, any other questions?
And you indicated you might be putting solar panels up there, is
I
that,
mean, it's a possibility because it's a big flat roof.
and it's leaking now, is that, or is it just an improvement to?
I don't know if it's necessarily leaking.
We're seeing where we're seeing it is water getting behind the coping and peeling off the stucco. on it.
Yeah,
So we're making repairs, but that's an indication that we're starting to get failure around the seams and around the outer border.
okay.
Okay.
And how soon would you be looking at doing the solar installation?
Well, we'd get the funds for the roof replacement next year, so it'd be sometime after that, say in a couple, 3 years.
And when they do a solar paneling job, they generally do the roof. And for that, so if we end up,
They would
Doing
want a
roof
certain
ma-
amount of
uh,
remaining life in the roof,
Yeah.
right? They wouldn't put it on the roof.
that's right, yeah. So if we delay our solar panels, we may end up having to look at this roof again in a few years, just to get it up to standards for the solar panels.
Right. I mean, it's, let's say we're actually absolutely gonna do it, but
Yeah.
it gives us that ability to do so in the next few years.
Okay,
Besides the fact that the roof is starting to show leaks.
yeah,
Alrighty.
What would you, so you would, when you had the roof designed, you would keep in mind that it could potentially have solar.
Yeah.
panels.
Do you have to change the design of it if it has solar panels or? Not really? I don't know. I know.
I don't know that if the solar company puts like pads down where they mount the equipment. I'm assuming they do. Because that's something we would discuss with the architect, once we get into design.
It's not a deal breaker.
Nope.
Okay. All right, that's good for me. All right, CIP 6, Public Buildings, Town Hall Annex Complex for $30,000. So moved.
I second that number.
Okay, all those in favor?
I
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That passes unanimously. The Jabez house is next on page 239. See, asking for 110,000.
No, just 60,
Oh, just 60. Oh, sorry.
not just 60, but 60,000.
60, yeah.
Yeah, this, we talked a little bit briefly before about this is, the house that we're responsible for the maintenance of. It is starting to show its age. The last time it was painted was about 24 years ago. So we're looking at some funds for replacing the handicap ramp, so that, when they do have programs there, it is accessible. The ramp is in pretty poor condition. So we have that. We have painting of the main house. And then there's a separate carriage house, it's called. It's really a garage. We need to paint that. And then the oil-fired boiler that's, it's a small residential type, but it's in really poor condition. So we're looking to replace that. So all those 4 projects together is the $60,000.
Glad to hear the library's doing a few things there.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever been in there, but it's a cool building inside.
No, I have not been in there, shame on me, but I have not. But from an old family from Massachusetts, looks like many of the houses my relatives still live in. Okay, any questions? Comments? Let's see if we can find someone to live in there. I would really like to see, I think it's better if it's occupied and used and has some life in it. It looks like no one's living in there right now. It looked, before it looked lived in and welcoming. So it'd be nice if we get someone in there. Okay, let's see, 6H, Jabez House, $60,000. Like to move that number. Any second?
Second.
All those in favor of 60,000, say aye.
I,
Opposed? Abstentions? What are you thinking?
I voted yes,
Yeah.
but I thought about voting no.
No. It's a hard one.
Yeah,
No. Leased buildings, 240. We're asking for 50,000, am I correct?
Yeah, the council did zero this one out.
Okay,
The Groton Ambulance Building, which is right next to Jebba Smith House in Route 117 there. They have a lease with the town, and under the terms of the lease, they are responsible for all the maintenance of the exterior of the building as well as the interior. But they can request, and they requested that we repaint the exterior. It does need some minor repairs and stuff too. So that was estimated to be 50,000. So we put that in as a CIP, but the council zeroed that out.
so, this is a. No. So it's now a 0. So CIP L, 6L, leased buildings, moving 0,
Second.
second. All those in favor?
I,
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, that passes unanimously. Police, 6M, 240.
Okay, the lease is 2 projects here. Again, the underground fuel storage tanks, it's the same situation we had at the library because they were put in at the same time. But at the police station, we do have 2 underground fuel tanks. We have a 6,000 gallon heating oil tank and a 1,000-gallon tank for the diesel generator. Again, both those are at nearing their 30-year life allowance under the DEP regulations. So we're looking at spending 200,000 to upgrade both those tanks to get the extra 10 years. If we did have to replace those in kind, it would be like a $500,000 project.
A piece?
No, it's for both of them. And then the second project we have up there is the locker room renovation. We had 250,000 approved in last year's budget. But the HVAC upgrades that were needed proved to be a lot more extensive than we thought. So in the architect, we put this out to bid actually in August of last year. We got 6 bids in. They range from $500,000 to $650,000. So we're using the $500,000 price tag with a $50,000 contingency, so that we're estimating the project costs at $550,000. Since we have 250 already approved, we're seeking an additional 300,000 in funding so that we can get this project completed. It's, it's been on the CIPs for years. It's long overdue, and this will get the rest, the locker rooms all complete.
We do not want unhappy officers.
I have a question on the tanks, and it goes back to the other tanks as well. We get 10 years out of doing this. I guess it's a study or what?
No, it's actually replacing the fuel supply lines with new style lines that have secondary containment in them. So if there's a
Okay.
leak, it gets collected, and also there's some sumps where they fill the
Do you have
oil.
we have to dig?
We have to do some digging, we have to do some testing, we have to cut concrete to replace some components of the tanks themselves. So and that's what this is. This is for construction.
Yeah. And we're saying we get 10 years out of it. That's a regulatory
Yeah,
10 years.
yeah.
What's the risk that those tanks may still leak even if we?
Pretty minimal. We also have the tanks themselves have their secondary containment or interstitial. There's like
Oh.
2 tanks, one tank inside, and they have
Okay.
a brine solution, and we have a continuously monitoring system. So if the tank itself ever leaked.
Yeah.
It would be,
Okay,
we
so
would
we're
know-
not going to get caught within a
no. And
contamination
yeah, and
situation.
DEP is very conservative, and you have to have these double wall tanks to even apply for this program.
Okay,
But there's just a few components that we don't meet that we're trying to replace so that we do meet the requirements of their program.
okay.
We don't do that in-house. We contract that out.
Right.
Right. Any other questions? Okay, so I guess if anybody has another number where they want to propose. Okay, so on that, I'm gonna propose the 500,000 for the police, 6M. Let me see, I think, I have a second.
I second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions, okay, passes unanimously. We're doing very well there. Townwide door access system. That's CIP's, Townwide door access.
This is the security system we have for all the town buildings for the door. We, all the employees and have key fobs so we can get access to different parts of the building. The system we have is old. The hardware and software aren't supported anymore. So if we have a problem, we're going to be like locked out of our buildings. So this is funds, we got a quote from the vendor, and unfortunately it is what it is. We're doing all the town buildings. Like the police station's already been upgraded, so that's one building we don't have to do, but like town hall, the library, community center, this building, all these town buildings we have to.
You're not responsible for the school buildings.
No, it's just town buildings.
Don't know which way some things. Okay, anyone have questions? Like to move $85,000 to CIP 6 townwide door access system.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor of $85,000 say aye.
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 Oh, opposed, abstentions. That so passes. Spring Street seawall, CIP 6P.
I'm not really sure why this is under public buildings. It's not really a building. It's actually it's a seawall at the end of Spring Street in Noack, which Spring Street comes from. Is it not Pearl, is it Pearl Street? Pearl Street, it's down,
Goes
it's
down.
down, it's a steep hill that
Okay.
goes down and it ends right at the water, at West Cove there. Last year in a snowstorm, unfortunately, one of our plow drivers slid down the hill with a full load, hit the wall and got the truck halfway over. Luckily, it didn't go in the water. But it took the wall right out. So we've went out and we've had plans done. We've got all the permits from DEP and Army Corps to replace it. Unfortunately, because the existing wall didn't meet any standards for crash, we have to pretty much put in a concrete type of wall that's really going to stop a vehicle. I mean, it will have, maybe some fake stone on it, pattern or something, so it blends in with the neighborhood, but the estimated cost to do the construction is $175,000. I mean,
It'll complete the whole project. right?
yeah, I mean, we did approach our insurance company about them paying for it, but unfortunately, this type of loss, we have a $500,000 deductible. So, they really just cover really catastrophic losses, not something they would consider small like this. So unfortunately, we're stuck with the
Did you at
bill.
least get the plow truck replaced or
Did we get it fixed, Bob, right?
That was repaired and insurance
repaired?
covered.
That's good.
Was the driver okay? Besides being shaken up,
Yeah.
Shaking.
I would think. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, how were the neighbors? Were they understanding that it's going to look a little different?
Yeah.
Do
I
they,
think-
they realize that?
Yeah. Right now we have Jersey barriers out there, so I think
Anything-
anything's gonna look better than
Jersey barriers,
that.
Yeah, okay.
And it's a town structure,
Yeah,
the
it's in,
wall
it's
is,
in the wall. It's, yeah, it's right. I mean, the road literally ends right at the edge of the water,
okay.
and it's a drop off too into the water. It's not just like,
But they live old. That's not going to flood there, is it, when we play with it and rebuild? Oh,
no,
okay.
we're not impacting the flood.
Okay.
We've, like I said, we've got all our permits already for this.
That's good.
Are there other similar seawalls?
To this at the end of a, I can't think of any off the top of my head, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some that are like parallel to the roads, like gravel streets got seawalls along it.
Right,
Some of those are on private property, but some are town. But this is the only one I could think of that's like right at the end of a road, so to speak.
So, like to move $175,000 for seawall in Spring Street, which is
Could I-
CIP.
Could I ask?
Oh, go for it,
question?
yes.
Is there a possibility of putting a buffer zone there so that you're not
It's,
going down to go into the water if you go over?
There's driveways to the properties like
Okay. Right there.
right there, yeah,
Okay.
kind of use it, yeah. At least to one property, yeah.
Mhm. Okay, I'm sorry.
oh, now I know where. Okay. A little trouble. Okay, CIP 6P Spring Street seawall for $175,000.
second.
All those in favor, say aye.
I
Hi.
Opposed, abstentions. Hey, that passes. Oh. We're doing pretty good here.
Yeah, I'm surprised we're as far along as we are.
So I'm very nice.
You run a good meeting.
I got to spend a day in Hartford today at the Capitol.
Oh.
I spent the whole time. Like, keep going. Okay, pump station, water pollution control facility.
Yeah, so these are, when we talked about the 2020 sewer budget, these are the projects that are funded out of that fund, so the sewer user fees are paying for these projects. They're not coming out of taxes.
Okay, this is for 100,000 or for
A
a million?
$1 million. This is there's an existing pump station in Burgess Park, which is a neighborhood that's kind of between I-95 and Clarence B. Sharp Highway, there's what we call a can station, which is basically a steel can that goes in the ground with the pump equipment and stuff in it. And the guys have to actually go down in this thing to work on it. And that it's been there probably since the 70s, and it's rusted and starting to get to the point where it's getting dangerous to even go in this thing. So we actually have an engineer doing the design now to replace this.
Did the, excuse me, did the money on this CIP from last year get spent yet, or?
No,
Oh,
The
We
Mumford
did-
Cove Pump Station.
yeah, and, well, there.
oh, so that one, no, we're actually, yeah, they're working on the design now for that.
So when the money, so, you know, the money was approved a year ago, right? Is it just, like the reason that some of this work hasn't been done just because of the process? The
Take-
stage of the process that it's in, or does it just take time to even get personnel to start the project, or,
Yeah, it's kind of yeah, sometimes it can be a combination, it just takes so long to get design and stuff,
yeah,
go through that process. So, this money, was identified last year, it was saved last year. It's, it's good for 5 years there.
well, I guess the reason I ask is because I would assume that the cost to complete the projects goes.
Goes up, yeah. But we do usually factor in some inflation. So when we
Okay,
know when the
okay.
construction is, we, have a little bit extra.
Right, okay. So typically you wouldn't have to come and ask for more. I mean, there were a few,
There's a few, yeah, there's been some real anomalies like HVAC equipment and window. There's some things I can't explain why, but if you ask anybody in construction, it's like these things just went through the roof in
Yeah.
pricing. And generators, I mean, we ordered some generators. It's like over a year to get them. That's when you put the order into the factory, and it takes a year or more to get some of these generators. It's just crazy.
Okay, any other questions? So we are looking at CIP. 610 water pollution control facility pump station. For $1 million. Any second,
I'll second it.
all those in favor say aye,
Aye.
opposed, abstentions. Okay, and our last project here is the treatment facility, page 253. Upgrade the existing and perform structural improvements.
This is engineering costs to develop plans and for replacing our mechanisms for one of our primary clarifier tanks, which is the first tank that the sewage comes into the plant, goes into where all the heavy sludge settles out in. The mechanisms are, they're original to the plant from the early 70s. So they're definitely showing their age and need to be replaced. So this is just funds for the, plans and engineering for that replacement.
Is that something you'll do in-house?
No, we would
Yeah.
contract out for that.
If you had an engineer, another engineer, could you do it in-house?
Oh, no, it's a pretty specialized field. Yeah.
This is for $60,000. Any questions? Anyone? Okay, so CIP, see, I'm gonna do. Okay, CIP 610, water pollution control. No, not 610, CIP 10, C, treatment facility for $60,000. Do I have a second?
No, second.
All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? Abstentions? That passes 4-0. Okay, we're done. Not bad. That little. So many of these things are so, thank you, Gary. We are done.
Thank you, you did a great job. I wish I could have been there, but I'm just trapped.
Okay,
at
you're
home.
here. You're here.
I'm Mr. Caregiver this week.
Yeah, I know. You're good with that, though. I like your mom. She's sweet.
Yeah,
Okay.
You need
Thank
a Motion
did a
to
good job.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gary.
It was earned.
Adjourn or continue.
I think we adjourn.
You adjourn because you're done.
Yeah, we're done. We are done indeed.
So
Are you Karen's brother?
Karen.
Karen, sure.
No.
I would
make
think.
a motion to adjourn.
Oh, am I gonna make a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Oh, you want a second?
Second motion.
We are adjourned.
I vote yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So can I ask a question kind of off